Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Happy New Year, everyone. It is a new start, but will we be making the same old mistakes again this year in 25? I hope not, but we're going to talk today to our expert, Diana Bejasa, joining us today, our Burn Through Catalyst speaker. She's here to tell you as a life coach, as an energy healer, as an author, why most resolutions are failing, but also let's figure out why, fix that, and let's make them not fail. So welcome back to the show today. How are you? Savoring Life with Diana. We are back here live at savorlifewithdiana.com. So happy New Year. How was it for you?
It was wonderful. I got to savor it with my little daughter. She is learning what fireworks are. And at first it scared her, but when I showed her how beautiful they could be, it really inspired her. And she was just so excited about them. And I think that's the same thing for life. Like sometimes something new can seem scary. And when we really open our eyes to how beautiful and exciting it can be, we have a completely different energy and we can move towards it instead of away from it.
Yeah, you brought me back to the days when my little guy, Austin, was 1. It was his first 4th of July, and I put him out the window to look at the fireworks. We were living in Queens towards New York City, so you could see the skyline, and he was like scared, but then like in awe, and then the excitement. So it's such a beautiful moment you were able to capture and, of course, keep with you for the rest of your life and to tell her throughout the years, new year, new starts, always new beginnings. And, of course, through the eye of a child, so fascinating. At that age, anything's possible, right? And it's over the years that we start these limiting beliefs and feel we can't make it in life, and we back up. This is where you come in. Tell us what you do, what your role is here.
Yeah. Well, the truth is we are filled with the same infinite potential and infinite ability to learn as our kids are at that young age. And we can see it, and they really just give us a chance to see it again. And what we don't realize is we have even more capacity and skills, and what we lose in the process is the conditioning and the mindset. Like this idea of New Year's resolutions, like who came up with this anyway, right? Like, so many of us promise ourselves that this year is going to be different, right? There's that idea like new year, new me, right? And I just did a summit this past weekend, and one of the speakers at the summit, one of the hosts, he was like, new you, what are you going to do with the old you? Are you going to throw yourself out? Like, where are you going to put the old you? In the closet? Like kind of thing. And I think it just points to one of the real problems with resolutions, because they don't work, right? They if you think about them, they really never have. Like there are some people who will talk at the end of the year about, I started here and I ended there. And we think that it's because they had a resolution, but I think it's actually something else. So that's what I want to talk about today is how to really get ourselves to achieve the change that we want this year. Because resolutions as they stand are not it. It's not because we're lazy. It's not because we're undisciplined. It's because of the way that resolutions are built. These outdated strategies and how they ultimately set us up for failure. So we're going to break that cycle today.
Oh, well, let's break it down, please. Let's get started because, I just feel so inspired. It's still the first few days of the new year, and I feel like anything's possible. But, a little depressing towards the holidays, a lot of us, and you focus on what I didn't accomplish. Now it's like, okay, no, we need to do this. Make your changes. Let's figure this out. But a lot of us get stuck in that same old rut and go right back into the same old pathetic cycle, which I'm sad to say I've done that, and I don't want that to happen this year. So where do we start? You're saying resolutions, you said they're rooted in shame, but not really strategy.
Yeah. So what a lot of us do is we employ this same old strategy that you're talking about, like we have shame about what happened last year. We don't feel good about as much as we achieved. We don't feel good about it. And so we commit ourselves to this idea of changing, of doing everything better this year, and we kind of think like I don't know about you. There's like this high that happens with the holidays that we're on, like there's all these emotions, but there's definitely like a part of it that's positive. And then you come into the new year and you're like, okay, I got to get rid of all that fun stuff, right? Like no more drinking, no more, of my favorite foods. It's got to be like, chicken breast and, I have to work out for like 3 hours every day type of things. And I think that sort of attitude, even if we're able to sustain it for a little while so we can have another it's like we're chasing another high this time of change. And, it lasts for a little bit, but there's a reason why most resolutions fail by February.
What's the
And
reason?
if we really want to get past that, we got to look at doing something different. I think that many of us don't realize how our resolutions, they come from a place of shame or guilt as opposed to from growth.
Okay.
So when we set resolutions up and we're thinking about what's wrong with us or what was wrong with the last year, we're setting ourselves up for failure before we even begin, right? A lot of resolutions are reactive. So that means that they're built on this belief that we're not enough as we are, right? And like I was saying, that guilt and that fuel temporarily will fuel us. Like it'll take us a couple months and it'll, but many of the times it fizzles out by February. It's not sustainable momentum. And so if we're wanting to create more true growth, right, that comes from expanding what's already working and no longer punishing ourselves for what we think is broken. So instead of setting resolutions that fix what's wrong with us, right, let's set resolutions about growth, right, not about guilt. What this can look like for us. So like if we're being practical, like, a lot of people have a resolution to be healthier, right? In some way, maybe it's to gain weight, maybe it's to eat healthier, maybe it's to work out more. And instead of it just being about like the losing weight, right? Or feeling, for example, like not enough about your weight at the end of the year, think about how you'd really like to feel, right? Like there's something positive, deeper lining in that, right? Like even if your goals are financial, for example, maybe you're just wanting more freedom to buy stuff or to travel or to have more time with family. Like instead of running away from something, consider what you really are wanting to run toward. So all of us, right? Like we have something that like we didn't like about last year, but if we focus instead on what we want this year instead of what we don't want, we're going to attract more of what we want and less of what we don't want.
Yeah. Well, how do we attract it? I've done this before. My yearly goal is always, it's about not always, but a lot of it, like for now, financial stability, right? To be able to work more, provide more for my family. And then it also comes down to personal relationships. And I've never gotten that one straight, like romantically. So what the hell am I doing wrong? What do you say to someone who wants to try to make a change? They start trying, but then it goes away. What are we doing wrong? What are the steps of working with you? What would you do? You'd sit down with me or someone out there, and we got to lay it all down, write it down. What are the first steps of, I guess discovering what it is that you want, right?
Yeah. So this is something that I outline in the Dream Results Blueprint, which you can get on my website for $147. But I'll tell you a secret. If you buy my Manifest Your Dreams journal, there's actually a coupon code in here to get it for free. And one of the first exercises, so I worked with a client, her name was Jessica, and she was like, just in this like really, really negative space, right? Like she knew all the things that she didn't want. She's like, I don't want to be stuck at this job anymore. I don't want to feel miserable. I want out of this miserable relationship, like all these different things that she wanted. And I asked her a question that like completely like just confused her. I asked her, okay, well, what do you want? And so many of us, it's so easy for us to identify what we don't want. Mm-hmm. And it's so much harder for us to identify what we do. And if you think about that consciously or like in the subconscious world, right? If you can consciously think about what you don't want really easily and you have a hard time consciously thinking about what you really do want, what do you think you're going to have an easier time creating subconsciously, which is like the automatic programming? It's going to be easier for us to create what we don't want, right?
Yes,
for sure. So what I did with her was she just had a really, really easy time writing down everything that you do want and this don't want. And this is, again, an exercise that I share in the Dream Results Blueprint. And, like I help people by incorporating AI as well to really help them. Because sometimes it's just hard for us to think about what we want. So what I do is I really help you take that list of what you don't want and figure out the opposites. Okay, so if you don't want to feel broke anymore, if you don't want to feel financially unstable, the opposite may sound like financial stability, but what is it really? If you're wanting different personal relationships, you can probably think of, I don't want somebody who cheats. I don't want somebody who lies.
So you got to say, I want someone who's faithful. I want someone who has a good personality. I want someone who loves children.
Yes. Yes. And so you start thinking about those things and
Instead of
and
the
part of it,
negative that I don't
yes.
want because that's weighing me down. I would
And it's
assume.
attracting more of what you don't want because our brain, right? Like whatever we focus on, it's going to expand. Our brain is going to show us whatever, whatever it is that we keep feeding it. So if we keep feeding it,
Yep.
I don't want this. I don't want this. Now, I think we've done this exercise before, but like Jill, if I were to tell you to not pay attention to an elephant, don't think about an elephant. Like, what do you think about?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the elephant. So gosh, you're right. It's
Yeah.
stuck. Ah,
So there's something about figuring out what the opposite of it is first, right? And then
yeah.
there's something about repeating what you actually want. So that's like one of the steps too in the journal. You're writing down what you want every single day and you're looking for ways that what you want is actually showing up for you. And it may not be enough quite yet, like maybe there's a relationship and the guy loves kids, but he's not faithful, or maybe he's,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like. Well, you can say, okay, well, I have part of it. I want to, but like, that's not the whole thing. But that means I'm getting closer to what I want.
Yeah.
A lot of times what we say when we don't see the whole thing show up for us is, oh, it's still not here. And that, I've described that in the talk I did this past Thursday. That's like stomping on the sprouts of growth that you have.
Yeah.
So instead of looking at, okay, I'm more open to relationships. I'm setting better boundaries in relationships. We're like, no, this isn't enough.
Nope.
And so we stomp all over it. We act like we're not making any growth. And that sends us back further into feeling less motivated. So the other thing I think I find a lot of times is, and I can definitely relate to this with relationships. Sometimes you're in a good place. You have a lot of good things happening for you and you're not comfortable in that. Like you're not subconsciously comfortable in it. So you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Right? You're like waiting for the guy to show you what's wrong with him, right? Or you're waiting for the proof that this isn't stable, or you're waiting for you're waiting for things to go bad almost. You're like planning for it and you think that you're protecting yourself, right? You're like, I just like my client, Michelle, she was talking to me about this, she's like in a new relationship, her business is growing, like all these different things. And she's like, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I'm like,
So we're
if that's what you're waiting
sabotaging
for,
our
that's what you're
own.
going to find.
Yep, sabotaging our own whatever it is that we want. Ugh.
Yes. Yeah. So we have to be willing to allow for the good to happen to us as well, right? Like, so when we see good stuff happening, we don't want to just like squash it. We don't want to expect things to go away. We want to start to reprogram our mind to think more of, yeah, good things just happen to me. It's easy for me to find a relationship. It's easy for me to be able to work and provide for my family more. It's easy for me to make more money with less time, right? Like when you have those sort of ideas and that attitude, that's where you really experience a shift. And when I work with my clients one-on-one, we do a lot of work to help reprogram that subconscious as well. So that they're working with a journal, they're repeating consciously what they want, but we're also working on some of the subconscious stuff that keeps them stuck.
When you say keeps us stuck, right, Diana? Like what? It's our own thoughts that we are manifesting that are keeping us stuck, is what you're saying? Because we're kind of I'm thinking about the elephant. I'm thinking about the negative. I'm thinking about, and that's what it's doing. So it's kind of like,
yeah.
Okay, so I got to stop thinking about that big elephant in the room.
And you have to think about what you really want, right? And that's much more.
Oh, it's pleasant. How come I never think about what I really want?
Well,
I always say, I don't want this. I don't want that. I've never once said what I really want. I know it, but I don't talk about it. I focus on the opposite, the bad. Why?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Well, because it's easier. But also part of it. So the other part of this, what you're thinking about manifests idea, right? Yeah. It's not like you can just think about $1 million and it manifests, right? The missing part that a lot of people don't see is there's got to be feeling behind it. So when I'm working with my clients on creating what they want, right? So first they start with what they don't want. You'll notice how charged that is, right? Like how much emotional charge you're maybe angry about it. You're sad. You're worried about it. You're anxious, like all these different feelings around what you don't want. And if instead you want to turn it into what you do want, you need to figure out, okay, what is the thing? What is the thought? But then you actually need to feed that thought positive emotion.
Yeah.
And that's different for everybody. So like when I do consults with somebody, that's where we'll have a conversation, and I'll really, my job there is to like really listen to what makes this person come alive. Where does Jill's energy change, right? Where do I feel the lightness instead of the heaviness, and start to help you kind of move down that path. So wherever I see that energy moving easily for you, that's where I start to be like, okay, let's head in this direction. Let's do this stuff. Tell me more about this, right? Tell me more about the dream relationship. Tell me more about, how would the dream guy interact with your kids, for example, right? Or like those, and you see how you feel that already? Like, so that to me tells me that's a point for you. Because I see, like, just literally in your energy, I can see, ooh,
now I'm crying.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So that's what's powerful. That's what I'm looking for when you're creating the thought of what you want. It has to be something that you have an emotional connection to, because we have to break this old emotional connection of anger, frustration, fear, anxiety, disappointment, all the things, right? And we can use, what's beautiful is we get to use our existing experiences, that pain, and we can say, okay, this would be the opposite of it. And then we build out, what does that really look like, right? Like, like for me, right? Like I want to partner with integrity. I want a partner who owns his own business. Like they're just different things that I know that I want. And I can create a picture in my mind of this supportive person who encourages my business dreams while he pursues his, right? Like all these different things. And those things matter for us. And everybody's things are different. And that kind of touches into point 2, which is really about the way that we set goals and how it's not really effective. So I want to create this this distinction. We want to set really big vision, right? We want, like, this is where we ask for everything that we want, right? We want to see the relationship, the way that the guy treats our kids, the way that it feels when we're working, like all those different things. We want to see that, but we want to set goals that are like teeny weeny weeny. So like a lot of people set really big goals, right? When it comes to the new year. And I think that it's like instead of setting a really big goal to start with, I think it makes more sense to set like micro goals. Somebody put it to me this way. And for me, like the imagery stuck of like, if you had a ladder, right? And if you want to climb from this rung of the ladder to here, right? You definitely want your eyes focused on where you're going.
Yeah.
But if it feels like it's too much of a jump, it doesn't feel realistic, you're not even going to try to like do a little leap to get there. You know what I mean? But if you set a goal that was like here, knowing where you're going, but knowing that the next road mark is right here, it'd be a little bit easier to make that jump. It'll be a little bit easier to make that step. So I find that setting small goals with a huge vision is part of that key, right? Like you want something that's going to emotionally drive you, right? Like you're not just going to ask for a partner who treats your kids okay, right? You're going to ask for a partner who like loves your kids, who supports them, who, who's like the father that they never had type of thing, right? Somebody they can look up to, something like that. Like you have that, but you got to just take the step towards the small thing, right? And instead of making the steps results, I like to make the steps when I'm setting goals. I like to make them process oriented. Okay. So it's like setting boundaries, for example, right? Or communicating what I really want, or going on a date, or telling people that I'm open to dating, like, which was a step that I recently took. It's like, I guess I should tell people I'm like open to dating now that my divorce is final type of thing, right? But you want to measure those like teeny weeny steps, because those teeny weeny steps, are going to get you there, right? And what you hold that whole time that you're taking the steps is the vision. You're holding where you're going to, but you're just focused on the step or the rung immediately in front of you. So when we set like process related goals, right, that for our health, that might be, maybe we see ourselves running a marathon, but the process goal for right now is just to jog for 10 minutes a day, or walk for 5 minutes a day, or, run for 30 minutes a day, or like once a week, run a 10K type of thing. Like wherever your rung is, you just set a small one. And as soon as that becomes proof of each win, which in the Manifest Your Dreams journal, we're counting all our wins every single day as proof. And that's going to lead us to more progress because we're building momentum. And you can get the Manifest Your Dreams Journal, by the way, on Amazon. Easiest way to find it is to look up my name, Diana Bejasa, Bejasa. Or you can find it on my website. You can use this QR code over here, and you'll get a link to the journal as well. But yeah, so it's really about like focusing on the progress that we're making. So looking at the goals as these little rungs on the ladder, and seeing the ladder leading to the ultimate goal place that we want to be, which is the vision, right? So that should be something that it aspires us, right? That we're reaching towards, that we're climbing towards, that we're inspired by. But we've got to have something tangible in that pursuit of something that we love, and in pursuit of our dreams, where it feels like, okay, well, I'm grabbing onto this thing that feels real and realistic, that's right just a step above me. Mm-hmm. And what we'll see is with each step, we figure out how to build that next rung. Or it's kind of like when you hike, right? And you can't see the next step until you take the next step. You can't see how you're going to get all the way to the end of the hike if you're not just taking the next step forward. And it's with every little step that you're going to get to a whole new vantage point.
Thank you for that. All right. Reminding everyone how we contact you. We still have plenty more time, but Diana, we're on a roll. You're hitting home today. How do we reach out to you, by the way, for the journal, to contact you, to work with you? Would you mind sharing again?
I would love that. Yes. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Diana Bejasa Speaks. I actually have to email you as well, because I have to change that, I think, in our show notes.
Oh.
But yeah, and then my website is savorlifewithdiana.com, SAVOR lifewithdiana.com. And you can get the journal on Amazon. Just look up my name, Diana Bejasa, Bejasa. And it's so cute. So just an aside, my daughter, like, I've been teaching her how to spell our last name, through song, because, kids learn a lot through song and through play. So we have a song about our last name, and I'm teaching her to spell it, and she's too young to spell, but it's like a fun little ritual we have every day. But she knows that it's her last name now. She knows her last name is Bejasa. So she's learning how to say it, and it's like the cutest thing. I think that it's just proof too, to me, that you want something that feels fun, right? Like if you want to grow, if you want to expand, you got to make it fun. And it's not eventually, yes, she will know how to say her whole name. But right now, just and spell her whole name. But right now, the joy is in, oh my gosh, she's learning how to say her name.
Yeah. Oh my
goodness. I mean, I'm moving towards here, but I'm celebrating the step we're at right now. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think the same is something we can do for ourselves as we're growing and learning. Because as many times as our kids fall, right? Never did we think they weren't going to walk, right?
Nope. Mm-hmm.
So when we fail with the relationships, or when we fail with a diet, or we fail with a financial goal, why do we tell ourselves it'll never happen, instead of, okay, I learned something, I got better, I got stronger? That's the truth of what happened to us and for us.
So true. Wow. I just feel so moved, so motivated. Gosh, I wish I lived closer. I know we could do this stuff in person, over the phone like this, but wow, to have you as a friend, as a motivational coach next to me, side by side every day, I feel like I can conquer the world. But that's encouragement you give to everyone. You don't have to be there in person, but you're awesome. 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 I can't wait to hear, I'm sorry, but I'm diving into your future, the dating process, what that's like, because I'm just going to give you a hint. It just is random, but as someone who has kids and then you start dating, it's bizarre, because your focus has shifted. Yeah, you want someone to love you, you want to love someone, but the new dynamic of how they treat your child is huge. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah. And a lot of people that I've dated, my own issue, I'm talking about the negatives, but they don't realize how much time I have to give to my children, and that's the priority, and that is what it is. It's always, okay in the beginning, and then it's wow, you really don't have time for me. And I'm like, no, not much, because I'm doing this alone. I told you this. It wasn't lying to you. So I got to reverse my thinking and look for a man that wants to love my children. It would be so beautiful. And there's men out there who do. They treat them like your own, which would be amazing. I have to focus on that, except instead of all that negative stuff. And I'm just going to babble, but okay.
And it's hard because we have a lot of evidence towards what we don't want.
It's so true.
Right. And so every time we see that, we get upset, we get frustrated, we have these feelings, and we're like, yep, see, more proof of what I don't want.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that the journal does is it says, no, here's more proof of what I do want.
Mm-hmm.
Here's ways I'm moving forward with this, right? Here's ways that I'm really creating what I want. And it just shifts us into a mindset of like, yes, this is happening for me. This is going. Like, I have quite a lofty vision for my husband and me. And I'm excited by it. Like, and yes, absolutely. How his relationship with my daughter is like a big part of that. Like I know how, and I see how I want that to look. And it's so important to me that, like just like any man that I bring into the picture that he understands that. Cause if not, it's like, hey, it's a quick no.
It's true. I get it. All right. Well, let's wrap up for today.
Yes.
Lead us to I want to say final prayer, our final, how are we summing up today's show?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is really powerful is not looking at, like, again, if we're looking at small process-oriented goals, it's about building systems. It's about doing things that are consistent, right? So getting more isn't the key to happiness. It's having a system. So that way we can stop chasing results, which are external, which we cannot always control. And we start building habits that are going to make the success inevitable. So when we're doing the things that we know are going to lead us there, instead of focused on, the scale doesn't read what I wanted to yet, or, the relationship isn't what I wanted to yet. When we're just building the habits that are going to lead us down that path, it doesn't matter how, who, when, whatever, we have this inner confidence of what it is that we're really going to have. So rather than chasing more, that's going to keep us in a constant state of scarcity, focused on what's missing. So instead we want to build a line system. So that's also something that we do in the Dream Results Blueprint is figuring out, okay, what does this version of me do? How do I become more of that person? How do I do more of that, the things that person would become? And it's almost as if it's not a comfortable suit to put on those boundaries or to have that kind of relationship quite yet, but we put it on more often. And just like a pair of boots that at first doesn't quite fit, over time, it gets to feel more and more comfortable. It starts to fit and mold to us, and it starts to feel like a second skin. So rather than chasing more, it's really about making more progress, seeing the small steps that are leading us there instead of focusing on something that's too big for us that we can't quite leap all the way to. This is a more practical way of feeling inspired by something big, but taking those small daily action steps that are going to get us there.
For sure. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here as always. We're going to savor our life together and welcome in the new year like this. Thank you so much. Really a pleasure having you.
I'll chat with you soon, Jill.
You got it. Savor life with Diana. We sure will. Enjoy your day, sweetheart. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.